Come on in.
In a career spanning 40 years, Polly Platt worked on Hollywood films as a writer, costume designer, producer, and location scout. But she's best known for her work as a production designer. On 12 films produced between 1968 and 1987, Platt's art direction and design significantly shaped their look. And with a thorough understanding of Hollywood storytelling, Platt's designs convey key information about narrative and character development that enhance the entire look and feel of each of her films. Her attention to detail of time and place, her understanding of the psychological possibilities of color, and the way she worked with cinematographers to incorporate light and space mark Platt as a significant innovator in the development of a new era of Hollywood production design. In this short video essay, I'll consider just a few examples of how Platt's design work from the 70s not only enhanced the films she worked on, but co-authored them. Please join me as we consider Polly Platt, Authorship by Design. When considering Platt's career, it's important to note how significant a role she played in determining film location. For example, while early drafts of What's Up Doc suggested Chicago or New York as likely settings, it was Platt's idea to set it in San Francisco. Likewise, it was Platt who decided to relocate Paper Moon from the deep south of the novel to the wide open spaces of Kansas and Missouri. Platt determined that the nouveau riche milieu of Houston would be more visually compelling for the film of The Thief Who Came to Dinner than the old money atmosphere of the novel's Chicago. Platt's eye for location also led her to make more substantial script changes. Bill Lancaster's script for The Bad News Bears includes numerous scenes set in the homes of the young players. But Platt realized that one of the film's strengths was that the baseball diamond was home. So at her suggestion, all of the domestic scenes in the film were cut. She had a keen eye for finding locations that would not only be visually dramatic, but also push the narrative in unexpected directions, including an uncredited location work on films like Nashville. Once locations were determined, it was Platt's job to make any cosmetic alterations necessary to align external locations with the film's time and place. For example, in Paper Moon, she redressed the facade of a local shop to look like a 30s-era cinema. And in The Last Picture Show, she did the same to an entire Texas street, to give a depressed 1950s feel. When shooting interiors on location, it was Platt's job to redress or entirely remodel a variety of spaces. She did so with precise attention to detail, as with this Kansas shop she remade in the style of the 1930s, Ben's pool hall in The Last Picture Show, or the LA mansion whose weird mashup of styles captures John Norman's love-hate relationship with wealth and the demise of his career in A Star Is Born. Then there were the location sets that Platt had to design and build from scratch, like John and Esther's Adobe getaway in A Star Is Born, for which she designed the exterior and interiors. Or the entire baseball field, including diamond, backstop, scoreboard, and dugout from The Bad News Bears. I'll return to that dugout a couple more times later on. While many of the films Platt designed were shot on location, she also did a lot of studio set work. For her first film, Targets, a low-budget Roger Corman production, the crew had the use of only one small studio stage. Platt ably designed and redesigned the space to serve as 4 unique locations: a film studio projection theater, the Polo Lounge in the Beverly Hills Hotel, Orlock's Hotel Suite, and the suburban valley family home of the film's killer, Bobby. Platt had studied set design at university and worked for nearly a decade in the New York Stock Theater before coming to Hollywood. Her skill at using sparse design to amplify character psychology is already on display with these low-budget sets, particularly in the way the subdued browns and golds convey Orlock's warmth, and also in the way she worked closely with Laszlo Kovacs to develop a blue whose coldness increases as light diminishes, enhancing Bobby's growing psychological distance from the humanity around him. As her budgets increased, so did her ability to design with more flair. But her sets maintain a tight connection with character, as with this stylized set on A Star Is Born. Or this, for the time, too hip to believe San Francisco mansion in What's Up Doc. Part of what makes those mansion scenes so impressive, apart from the plexiglass pillars and staircase or the Art Deco decor, is Platt's deployment of color. Notice how almost the entirety of the room, all the servants, and most of the main characters are dressed in black and white, whereas wardrobe for the party guests spans a spectrum of early 70s color palette, so that the party guests both pop, but also blend into the background, while the black and white clad leads remain visually distinct. At the same time, Ryan O'Neal's tartan bow tie is color coordinated with his overnight bag, reminiscent of other coordination throughout the film of costume and set design, both of which Platt oversaw. I've mentioned the way Platt's use of blue and targets conveyed psychological cues about the film's killer. In The Thief Who Came to Dinner, the new money denizens of Houston's upper classes surround themselves in green, as if they love to see their money looking back at them. The garish wallpaper and carpets might come across as heavy-handed symbolism, but then, throughout the film, there are moments when the protagonists are subtly cut off from the color, surrounded by it, but unable to grasp it. Of course, we can't discuss Platt's design without mentioning her precise attention to detail. Whether in period films or contemporary, whether color or black and white, Platt had a keen sense of design that comes across as both authentic and lived in. This early 50s bedroom, with its posters of Montgomery Clift and Marlon Brando, its glass Jergens lotion bottle with a vintage radio, perfectly conveys the consumerist, middle-class lifestyle of JC and her family, even while remaining firmly ensconced in the background. Whereas the oil lamps, heavy wooden furniture, and woven baskets hanging on the wall of Esther and John Norman's adobe getaway house capture the rustic, back-to-the-land Americana that two such post-hippies would have gone for. Now, let's spare a minute for this cloche hat from Paper Moon. It's not actually vintage, but it was designed by Platt. In 1935, the hat likely would have gone out of style. Addie's mother, from whom she inherits it, was poverty-stricken by the Depression, but also liked to have a good time, so it makes sense that she would have held on to the hat, maybe as a reminder of her youth. Also, however, with its folds and weaves, the hat is able to work as a key plot device late in the film, so that Addie and Mose can hide some money from the thugs who are looking for it. An even smaller detail, but one of my absolute favorites, is the fencing in the Bad News Bears dugout. Platt designed the baseball field to appear lived in, so the backstop's paint is fading and the bleachers are beat up. But these twisted pieces of chain link are an exquisite touch, recalling previous games and previous summers when foul balls smashed into the fence or when excited players climbed it to get a better view of the field. All of these components of Platt's design could be considered simply tools of the trade. Designers design, after all. They know color, they know props, they know period, they know shapes and sizes and how to deploy them all in front of the camera lens. What makes Platt special, and what makes her a great study for broadening our understanding of designers as film authors, is the way she marshals all these components into on-screen emotional spaces. Spaces that complicate and deepen viewers' appreciation of character and narrative. Let's go back again to that dugout. If the baseball field is home in the Bad News Bears, then the dugout is something like the hearth or the kitchen table. Throughout the film, the dugout is where the team bonds, both in good times and in bad. It's where the team shares its victories and defeats, and where the kids can be most honest with Buttermaker, the coach. Those bent pieces of chain link fencing I mentioned are like the familiar nicks in a kitchen table. Then, late in the film, the day before the big game, comes a scene between Tatum O'Neal's Amanda and Walter Mattau's Buttermaker. Amanda, overjoyed by her experience pitching for the Bears, is trying to get Buttermaker to rekindle his relationship with her and her mom. Buttermaker, a drunken old crotchety bastard, first tries to change the subject, then rips her heart out in brutal fashion.
God damn it, can't you get it through your thick head that I don't want your company? If I did, I would have looked you up 2 years ago. I wouldn't have waited 2 goddamn years.
There's a lot to the scene's power, the script, the camera work, and most certainly the performances. But much of what makes it work is the space within which the scene plays out. A space crafted by Platt to be the emotional center of the film, and the one place in the entire film where Buttermaker can be anything but drunk and cranky. Such emotional spaces are signatures of Platt's work. They endow her films with significant heft, precisely because of her attentive approach to design as a component or extension of narrative and character. With design so essential, this is why we can recognize Polly Platt as one of the authors of every film she worked on. I'm Aaron Hunter, and thanks for watching.